Okay, so then whatever isn't there. So I'm just going to go because we're like 20 minutes late.
All right, let's go. Go ahead. Meanwhile,
let's just
I'll be
rock.
playing with the slides and see if something comes up. Go ahead, Rhonda.
Well, I will continue running the slides as if it's actually going to work.
Okay.
And there's not that much on them. I don't put a lot of words on them anyway, so it's not as if I'm reading it like a script or anything. So now, if you're coming through Dr. Michael Craig and his site and one of his people, the chances are really good that you are a coach, either experienced or new or whatever. And so one of the things with coaching, the best coaching involves asking a lot of questions and helping people explore. So as we go through, and it's something I love to do in teaching anyway, when I was teaching college, would be to ask questions. So as I'm asking you questions,
okay.
If you just took a screenshot of something, okay. I would encourage you folks who are watching and listening to take some notes. If you have questions, you'll be able to pop them into the Google page or wherever, and Michael can let me know about those things later. But here's something you want to think about to start with. Here's my first question to each of you. How will you stand out? In case you hadn't noticed, it's kind of a crowded, busy world. I was talking with somebody who thought that a Facebook message every so often, every month or every few weeks, was just fine. And I said, well, what were you doing 2 weeks ago today at this exact moment? And it's like, well, let's see, that was a Tuesday, and so in other words, there's a lot of out of sight, out of mind that happens today. People are busy, cell phones, emails, things to do, technology that may or may not be working right, or human error on top of whatever, all these different things that go on. You got families, you got lives, you got jobs, your coaching clients, your marketing, et cetera, et cetera. And if you hadn't noticed, everyone's very busy. So how are you, as a coach, going to stand out and be that person that people will pay attention to? How are you going to show and demonstrate to people that you are someone worth listening to? Someone gave me a copy of their book to look at, and one of my comments back to him was, I said this: you don't have anything about you as an author, and there's nothing to demonstrate to the reader why we should trust you. We are long decades past the era where you can write something and people will go, well, it must be true if it's written out. We are very much in an era in which people need to know, like, and trust you. KLT, know, like, and trust. And how they're going to do that is a lot of what you need to make sure that you are presenting to the world on your website, in your free report, in your products, in your whatever it is that you're doing, right? So that people will understand why you, and why not somebody else. What is going to make them come to you? So standing out, this is the easiest thing in the world if you hadn't noticed. Right? There's a whole lot that goes into it. So I would like to invite you to write the question, how will I stand out? Maybe put it on a separate page so that later on you can kind of meditate and give it a think and figure out what is it about you that's going to help you to stand out in this very busy world.
So essentially, I'm sorry, Ron, essentially you're talking about the USP, or unique selling proposition. Is that very similar to what some people have thought about selling?
Yeah, but a lot of people think that's I just spoke Swahili if I say USP. So what you want to, the way it is a USP, but the way I like to put it is why somebody comes to you and not somebody else. It's not just what's different about you, but what is the core value that you are providing. It can't just be that you have a package deal of some kind, like, oh, I have 10 coaching sessions for X amount of money. There's nothing unique. That's just packaging, right? So what kind of person is going to be attracted to you? So I know about myself, I wouldn't say that I'm a person for teenagers. I don't really talk to teenagers much. My stuff wouldn't be relevant to them. They wouldn't relate to it because I'm not at that place. I don't really speak their lingo.
Right.
Nothing wrong with teenagers. I haven't got anything against them, right? But they're not my audience. So you have to start to know who you are, what you're about, who are you ideally equipped to serve. And part of that is what helps you to stand out.
Uh-huh.
So, does that help, Michael?
Yes, it does. Yeah, I just wanted to
Yes.
clarify that for people because a lot of times
Right.
there's crossovers in marketing and sometimes the lingo gets mixed up. So I just wanted to make that
Oh,
clear.
exactly. Yeah. So if you understand the USP, if that's not a foreign tongue, yes, it is definitely that. But I'd just like to help you think a little deeper than just the term that you've heard. A lot of people go, "Oh yeah, I know that, I've heard that," and kind of dismiss it.
Right. Okay, great.
So there's a question that you will often hear asked, and a lot of people will say you need to figure out what your prospect wants. So the slide I have, all it says is, what does your prospect want, in case they're not showing up yet. Now, that's not a bad question, but my suggestion to you is to consider that it may not be the best question to ask, because what often happens when you think, what does your customer want? And I'm sorry if I say, what does your reader want? Sometimes it's because I'm used to working with people on their books, so if I do that, I apologize in advance. If you think about what your customer wants, what your coaching client or potential coaching client wants, what's really easy to do is to go inside your head and go, well, I think they want blah, blah, blah. You need to have actual data relevant to what they want, and it's not always what you think. In fact, it's usually not what you think. I can't tell you how many times I've worked with people in talking about your uniqueness and what people want, and usually they come up with their uniqueness as, oh, well, I use a such and so metaphor to talk about stuff. Well, that's not enough to hang a business on, or they'll say, well, my people want to have a spiritual relationship every day or whatever. That kind of. So what you think they want may not be what they really want. So the first thing I'm going to suggest to you is that may not, I'm going to get to a better question in just a couple of minutes, but I want to help you discover what it is that people actually want versus what you think they want. So, Michael, if you had to guess, where do you suppose you might go to find out what people are actually buying? What would be a place you might do that could help you with your research?
Oh, I don't know. I'd go to Google, go to Amazon, just punch in keywords. In other words, if I'm coaching about relationships, do I coach, marriage counseling, punch that in, find out where people are going, some of the top websites people are visiting to get that information. Do some demographics. I go into a little bit of depth on that, but the simplest thing is just do a Google search. Find out who's on the top rung of the ladder when you punch in those keywords that you're trying to, that you think people are trying to research. And
okay, so that's not bad. I'm going to give a really fast and super over the top Google lesson real quick.
Great.
The way Google, there's a difference between a search engine and a marketplace, which should be pretty obvious, but like Google is a search engine, or like Ask.com or Yahoo, Google, Bing, those are search engines. They just are for places where people are searching. What they're searching for may not be equivalent to what they're buying, okay?
Right.
You want a buying engine, not a search engine. So if you want to know what people think other people are looking for, then Google is the place to go. The other thing that's changed about Google is there's really no such thing as a top Google search term anymore. I'm not going to go into it real deep, but just to say everything is about what they're calling semantic search, which means it's all relevant to who you know and who's connected to you in Google.
Right.
It's not an overarching, there is a top listing. There is no top listing in Google for a search term anymore. That just does not flat out exist.
Right.
Right, so if you search whatever and I search whatever, and if we're connected, but if we weren't, we could end up with very different results. Right, so, and I'm not going to go any further than that right now, but just so that you know, it's really changed. When you want to know what people are actually spending their money on, better to go to a buying engine than a search engine, right?
I think Amazon or one of these places,
Amazon would be a great place because Amazon sells everything pretty much. I mean, you can buy almost anything on Amazon. I'm not saying it's the only thing or the only place to research, but I'm suggesting it's a really good starting place. So you can put in, relationships or better sex life or get a better job or whatever it is you want in there, and you'll find out What are the books that people are buying? And that is where, when someone goes to Amazon, they're going with their wallet open.
Hmm. Good point.
They're probably already, or they may have their card on file. They may not literally have their credit card in their hand, but figuratively speaking, they're going with credit card in hand, because if they're not going to make a purchase today, chances are real good they plan to make one very soon. All right, so that's the difference with that and Google. Google has its place, certainly, but as far as what people are actually spending their dollars, euros, or other currency upon, it's going to be in a place where they're spending money, not where they're looky-looing.
Hmm.
So just kind of keep that in mind. So as you're starting to build this profile, and Michael, what you said about the demographics, which means like what kind of a household income, where you live, the kind of stuff you see on a census, that's demographics. There's something else called psychographics that are also good to know, like what kind of publications do they read, what apps do they use, or Windows or Mac, Android or iPhone, those kinds of things that you come to know. That's psychographic. So
Right.
those things are great, right? I'm not going any deeper than that for now, but as you start to go in deeper, part of knowing your customer, it starts with what they're actually buying, because if you know what they're buying, that means this is what they're actively looking for, that they're actually willing to part with money.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Make sense?
Makes sense. Absolutely.
Cool. So as you think about what people want, I'm just going to urge you not to stay inside your head and you think, well, I think I know what they want. You want to actually know what they're buying.
Right.
And now, here
Good
is
point.
a different question. Here is and what I think is a better question, and one that you will probably not have heard from very many other people, because there just aren't that many of us teaching this as of this moment. That can change. What does your prospect know? K-N-O-W. What does your prospect know?
Hmm. Good point.
Right? Wow, what a great question, right? So here is what is very easy for people to do. Let's say you do coaching that is to help someone have a better marital relationship, and you think that what people really want is whatever it happens to be,
Hmm.
and you then start talking as if that's true, and you may be talking right over their head. I remember talking with somebody who said the point of her book was to help people feel a spiritual experience every day. And I'm not arguing that that isn't important, but what I'm suggesting is that is probably not what's on somebody's mind
Right.
every day. They're hurting, they're either worried about their job, lack of money, they maybe try to put food on the table, just depends who you're talking to, what the thing are, but probably they don't, like, you're not tossing and turning and losing sleep going, oh, if I could just have a more spiritual relationship every day of my life would be so much better.
Yeah.
That may be the core of what they need, right? So I'm not arguing religion one way or the other, but I'm just saying it's
Right.
not what's on their mind.
Right.
Right, what's keeping them up is the bills, or their partner is growing estranged, and there's a stranger laying in bed next to me now. I don't know what to do about it. That's the kind of stuff that they know. And so that's what, if you really focus on what does my person know, my prospect actually know right now. What I know is my husband is lying in bed and I feel like he's a stranger.
Uh-huh.
And I want to change it. Whatever. I'm just making up a scenario, but so that's what you're going to come up with. Okay, so I want you to then write the questions. I've been writing them all along. So you started back with, how will I stand out? And of course I asked what does my prospect want, which is the more common question. The next question you want to write and give it a think and study later is, what does my prospect know? K-N-O-W. What does my prospect know? Now I'm going to help you more deeply understand what that's all about. Okay, so because this is very different. Michael, before I do that, questions, comments, or observations so far for you, or any comments that may have come in? And I'm going to take a sip of water while you tell me.
Well, I have a quick question for you, Rhonda, and that is that in terms of actually writing the physical report, in other words, you're doing a free report that you're going to put on your
Yeah.
website to get somebody's name and email address and download that
Mm-hmm.
PDF. In terms of these questions you're asking, they're excellent questions, and obviously you need to know these things. In terms of putting that step by step in the presentation. I assume you're going to be going through that or letting people know
I
what comes first and second and third. Is that correct?
I am. And you know, the thing is, if I jump right into the tactics and you don't
Right.
have any basis, then you're going to write a report like everybody else in the world is doing. What
Right.
everybody else in the world, pretty much almost everybody else in the world is doing, is you go, well, I have knowledge about how to train your cat to use the toilet, so I'm going to make that special report because that's what I know. And then you write that special report, and you're like, where are these droves of people who want to know this? Because you focused on what you know,
Right.
not what your customer knows and what they're actually looking for.
Right.
So thank you for helping prove my point about why some of this background stuff is actually important. What you're going to get as far as the report, I'm going to give you 7 words that all start with T that will show you exactly what you need to have in your report so that you can write it.
Excellent. Good.
But it'll be very, very specific and very cool. Right? So in helping to understand what it is that people know, there are different levels of awareness. If you can figure out what your person knows and what they don't know, that will then help you write the free report, because now you're catching my attention. Because if what I know is that I'm sleeping next to a stranger that I've been married to for 5 years, and your report says, is your spouse a stranger in your bed? Oh my gosh, you have my attention. That's exactly my problem. I need to know that. If you're going to answer that, your how to build back the intimacy or whatever, and if you're speaking in terms of exactly what my problem is as a prospect, oh my gosh, you have my attention. Now I'm going to get your free report, and it won't just be something that sits on my hard drive. Like, you know, you probably have these things that you downloaded like 5, 6, 7 years ago, and you find them and go, wow, I don't even remember when or why I asked for this. Delete. You know, you don't
Mm.
want to have that kind of report. You want to have the one that goes, oh my gosh, this is talking about sleeping with a stranger, and how, where did the intimacy go, and that's exactly my problem, and your report is answering that for me. I must absolutely, I'm willing to give my name and email for that.
Mm.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's where what you know becomes such a big deal, and where it actually helps you. Actually, the funny thing is, this may sound like, oh my God, I got to do all this thinking and researching first. But if it's really more about asking questions and tuning into what people are asking you for, as you do that, you'll know what they want because they'll tell you. You'll have people who write in and say, I'm having X problem. I need to know this. I can't find blah, blah, blah. And there you have the core of what can go in a free report.
Sometimes it
Okay?
helps to do a survey. I found that when you just
Yes, it
send your list, if you have a list, maybe 1,000 or more, or even a small list, just send it out there to people and let them know that you're looking to develop certain products or services and you would like to know what they want to hear. And then maybe give them a multiple choice to get answers back. Make it easy for people. And you can go to,
can do that.
yeah,
Yeah.
surveymonkey.com is a free one, and there's others out there. So,
Mm-hmm. And you can even just ask, what is your biggest concern about, you know, growing your intimacy or your whatever it is that you coach about. Okay, so what's your biggest question? Or of these 5 things, like he said, a multiple choice, so of these 5 issues, which hurts the worst? What's keeping you up at night? The difference is really the question of what keeps you up at night, your prospect, what keeps them up
right.
at night, tossing, turning, pulling out their hair, chugging antacids. It has to be that level of problem. And the thing is now, 10 years ago, email was much more of a novelty, and so to give up your name and email wasn't that big of a deal because
Right.
it was like, oh my God, I could actually get an email. It was kind of a deal. Now it's like, of the 600 emails that hit my box on a given day or whatever, you know, it's like, yeah. So I often, if I go, how bad do I really want this report?
Mm.
That's the question you want to think about, because just because you have tremendous knowledge, and I know that you do, each one who's listening, I know that you're absolutely brilliant in some area that I am most likely not. And that's great. That's what makes the world go round. However, to make people really want to give up their name and email, it has to be oh, you have nailed my problem, bang on the head, and I've been losing sleep. I might be losing my job over this, or my marriage might be breaking up over this, or whatever, and I have got to get this solved, so that they will be so happy to give up their name and email because they're going to get a solution. That's the mindset that you want to be in. Because I know me, I'll sit there and go, that looks really interesting, but if I have to give up my email to watch this video, I'm probably not doing it, unless it's something I've been really agonizing over this thing.
I had an example given to me by Mike Stewart. You may know him. He's a video audio guy, but
Hmm.
he gave a really good metaphor or example of how. In fact, he does this in his presentations about how to nail a problem that people have, so that you position yourself to be in the way of their solution. He says that
Hmm.
basically, well, I've got my head is on fire. I can't put my
Right,
I can't put my head out
right.
because
My
it's
head's
on
on
fire.
fire.
And so he's got this person burning, his head's on fire, and he's searching on the internet for, cure for head fires. And so if you've got an ad that says we put out your head fire immediately, if not sooner, click here for a free report. Um,
They couldn't type it fast enough to give up their
yeah,
email,
or a
right? Yeah,
free
and that's
video or whatever it is, then the greater the emergency, the more uh, strong the desire people have to come to you for a solution. And of course, if you're coaching, relationship problems are along those lines, but something that you can help people solve that may or may not be contributing directly to your long range plans, but if it helps them solve a problem right now, a lot of times that can give you the appearance of being the expert in their eyes, so they're more than willing to listen to you for something else that you may offer. Is that correct?
yeah, and so that's really the point: is what are people really in pain about?
Mm,
And I know a lot of coach people are kind of fuzzy, soft, and cuddly, and oh, I don't want to talk about problems. Honey, if you don't talk about problems, no one is going to care or listen to you because they've got problems and they are actively seeking a solution. And so if you're just talking warm, fuzzy stuff, they don't care. They are too much in pain. You actually are in a place to help them put out the pain, put out the head fire, and it doesn't matter what kind of coaching, if it's business coaching, if it's relationship, if it's health. If somebody can't keep up with their grandkids because their health is poor, they're hurting. You need to be the one to come in there with the solution, right? So I'm just using different kinds of examples from coaching, so it's not all one type of thing.
great.
So
Yeah.
what a lot of folks end up doing is acting as if the whole world knows about that there is a solution and that you're the one that has it. So that's only true for things like iPods and stuff. And people who love Apple. They know that if they have a technology issue, they're going to look for an Apple solution. They are absolutely very much product aware. They know that's what's out there. There are some people that are aware that there are solutions, like they're heavy, they want to lose weight. They know that there are 15,000 diets. Maybe they've tried 10,000 of them. They don't maybe know about yours. There are people who are aware they have a problem but don't know there's a solution. Maybe you have a head fire and you've just been walking around blazing and going, God, I just don't even know. I think I just
Right.
have to live with my head. Right, so they know they have a problem, but they don't know there's a solution.
Right.
A lot of people may have that. They may have ringing in their ears, or they may have whatever. So it could be a relationship issue, or they may know, gosh, this is really a problem for me, but they don't even know. Then there's some people that are so unaware. This is like at the least level of awareness. They are so unaware they don't even recognize that they have a problem. And if you think that your spiritual relationship thing or your whatever it is, if they don't even know that there's an issue, you're not going to get those people to understand that they need you.
Right.
So you really need to figure out what they know. Do we know there's a problem? Do I know there's solutions and I've tried a lot of them? Because then you can say, you've tried the cabbage diet, you've tried the Atkins, you've tried this and that. Well, it doesn't work, and here's something that's different. Well, whatever it is, but that's where you really want to tune into those differences of what people know, not what you think they know.
Okay, so you've established what people know, or at least you think you've established that, and you pretty much, and you have the solution to their problem, whatever that is. How do you set about writing that report, Rhonda, and how do you put it down such that you engage the reader in such a way that they take action, which I guess is the purpose of that report?
Right. So thank you for asking and leading so perfectly into my next part without even knowing where I was going.
Anytime.
I just love being in sync, right? We're very in tune. Because as I was thinking about what your people know and what they don't know and what will help them move, that's how I designed this presentation for you.
Mhm.
So the next question, the next thing I want to help you understand, and this will be very quick, and then I'm going to go into the specifics of the report, is how can you create your free report wisely? Wisely, 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 underline it. Here's what a lot of people do that really doesn't serve you well, is you take the absolute biggest, most important teaching that people should be paying you megabucks for, and you put it out in your free report in great detail. What you want to do is you save the core teaching, the really important stuff, you save that for when people are paying you money. In your free report, you speak to the problem, you speak to the burning head problem that they have, like your video guy said. So you may know that, no, it's really it's deeper than the burning head problem, because the reason your head is burning is because of something down here, whatever. You may know that, but they don't. They just know their head's burning. So speak to the burning head problem in the free report and save the deeper teachings and so forth for when they're actually paying you, because this will then help you to gain them as the coaching client.
Hmm.
So then the question becomes, now I'm going to actually tell you what goes in your free report. So before I do that, Michael, feels like you have an aha going on, or a oh yeah moment going on over
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Right. So, starting out with what? What do you start with? How do you lead into it? And how do you develop it? And how do you get to the call to action?
Okay, so there are 7 aspects. I told Michael beforehand and in the promos that folks received that I was going to give you a 7-point checklist for making your report. So now once you say, okay, I figured out what the burning head problem is that my free report is solving, that the biggest pain my reader has, and all the deeper pain we're saving for later, so I know what the biggest thing is. The first T is for a title, a tantalizing title. You want to give that report a title that speaks to the pain. So as you were giving that example before, stop head fire instantly.
Hmm.
That would be a tantalizing title. If I have a head fire, and I'm actually searching on the net instead of rolling around on the ground to try to put it out, that would be the kind of thing that, oh, that's my problem right there. Yes.
Or the 3
Right.
steps you can take right now to put out your head fire, something like that.
Exactly, right. Right. 3 steps to putting out head fires instantly, or in 2 minutes or less, or those kind of things. Right. So title, if you can use things like 3 simple steps in 5 minutes or less, things like that will really help. Or under $10, whatever, in your free report, then that title is going to catch people's attention. How to eat 3 meals in New York for under $30 a day.
that's
That's
a
I don't even know if that's possible.
yeah.
It may be. I really don't know. There used to be a $30 a day show on like the Food Network. Rachel Ray did it. That's kind of why I thought of it. But whatever. If you can give boundaries like that in 3 simple steps or whatever, like I said, you can have 7 steps to your free report. And that's what these are. You've got the first one right now is the title. So a tantalizing title. Feel free to survey and ask your people, hey, do you like this or that title better? I'm going to do a report on blah, blah, blah. What would catch your attention? Let people help you. That's cool.
Right.
So first is T for title. Now, so you have a title that you're going to put on the report. The next T is for takeaway. In other words, why should somebody read the report? So after I see a title, it's title and it's by so-and-so, and maybe some of your credentials are in there, whatever. Now here we are. We're in the actual meat of the free report. And now I am saying, well, what is the takeaway? What are you getting out of this free report? In this free report, you're going to learn the 3 immediate steps to do to put out head fire in less than 2 minutes.
Hmm.
So give that the why should I read this report? That's what the takeaway really is. Of all the stuff that I could be reading and doing, why this? Okay, so T for tantalizing title, T for takeaway. Now T for tail, T-A-L-E, not like tail of my cat there that just meowed. T-A-L-E, in other words, a story. In your free report, once you've established some context for people, that's the part about the takeaway, why they should be reading this report. Now you're going to tell a story. John had head fire for 5 years, and he, whatever, Jane tried 16 different diets, or whatever it is, so just pick whatever it is in your coaching area. I like the head fire thing. It just tickles me. I have this brain TV going on. This little guy with flames on his head. So thank you for that. So anyway, you're going to take and use a story. It can be about a client that you've had. You might only use their first name, or you might give them a, we'll call her Jane, or we'll call him John. In other words, you're giving a false name, but you're letting people know we're calling him John, which means he isn't really this name, but that's what we're calling him. So you can do that, but give a real case study example, and it could be yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was going to say,
whatever,
you can talk about your own story.
You can.
Yeah.
Right. It doesn't matter if it's your own, someone else's, or a little combination, or it can be, boy, I had this problem for so long, and then lo and behold, I discovered some other people that do. And once I figured this out, and then I gave it to John to try it, and John was like, oh my God. And then I gave it to Jane, and she was like, oh, look out, I've been looking for this for years, and whatever. And it's okay to do those things. It's great.
Uh-huh.
Right? So now the story is great. But what people too often do is jump right into, okay, now here's the 3 steps. You want to do that, yes, that's going to be next, but you really want to give a story to kind of pull people in emotionally and give them some vested interest in it before you jump in, because you can then use the parts of that story to illustrate what comes next. Okay, so far we've had the title, the takeaway, the tale, T-A-L-E, tale, and now the teaching. This is where now you're going to say the 3 steps to stop head fires, or whatever it is. That's where you're going to actually do the teaching that you have promised to give in your free report.
Got it.
Okay? It's great to use relevance point lists, so it's what most people call bullet lists, or numbered lists are great. Steps 1, 2, 3, anything like that. Try to make it as clear-cut as possible. That's why I made this into 7 T words, and that can make it easy for you to remember, because now you know each word is going to be with a T. So wrap your teaching up in a way that's going to help. And some people will use acronyms where the first letter, like fear, false evidence, appearing real, F-E-A-R. Some people will use like that. I teach a system I call BLISS, Being, Legacy, Imprint, Share, and Serve. That's how I work with everything, whether it's authors or anything else. But so you can do that if that helps you. But whatever it is that'll help you convey that teaching, this is where you're going to do it. You've promised 3 steps to stop head fire. You've promised 10 diet tips the so-and-so doesn't want you to know. Whatever it is, all those kind of things, you've done that. That's where you're teaching. So that's oftentimes where people stop. Now, we only have 4 out of the 7, so as you can tell, there's a little more that will go into this to helping you craft a really nifty, great report. The next T is for tools. So you've been, you've kind of said, okay, here's the title, here's why you should listen, here's the story, here's the teaching. Now here are the tools that were mentioned. If you talked about certain herbs or certain foods or certain steps or a breathing technique or whatever, that's where you're going to start telling people the tools. We now, just so you know, we have a thunderstorm, so if for any reason like we lose power, I'm just kind of giving a warning in advance in case that does happen. So tools would be if you mention, now you've told people you've told people you should be using product X, here's where you can buy it, that's the tool. Okay, so you want to give people some tools that they can use. They should be things that you have either an affiliate link for, if it's something where you get a commission for selling it, or maybe it's your own product. And you can mention those tools, but right now we're not really quite ready for that. Here's what you have to do next, call to action place. That's coming soon. right now it's just really good, and this is really well done in chapters of a book too, where you can give the tools that you've mentioned and where people can go get them. Or specifically, you've had all this teaching, now here's an ingredient list. We've told you a report about how to build a blah, blah, blah. Well, here are the list of the supplies that you need to do this craft or this project. Right? It can be anything. It can be a craft project. It can be a relationship thing, but you still want the tools.
Right.
Okay? So we have title, takeaway, tale, T-A-L-E, teaching, tools. Number 6 is take action. This is where you are going to tell people some steps that they can take. So now you've said, here are the 3 steps to stop head fires or whatever. You've given them some tools or resources. Here's how to deal with your poor scorched hair after the fire is out, whatever. All the tools are there. And now the action steps that people can take are going to be there. So that's where you're putting the action steps. And those action steps can include things like coming back to you for a consultation, or for you're getting an audio, or whatever it is, a book on Amazon that you may have, or whatever. Taking those actions, not just here's the tool, but here's the step. Step 1, do this. Step 2, do that. That's where you're really delineating it out. Boom, boom, boom. Here's your action steps.
Right.
And the final T is the teaser. So if you have persistent problems with fill in the blank, you found this helpful, you will get even more benefit by signing up for this mini class or this whatever, or for downloading this audio, which you have to pay for or whatever. So the teaser is that really trying to get them back to you. You're kind of doing that, building that into the last 3 steps. But right at the end, shh, cat, hush.
I was going to say, did you have a baby there, or I think, is that a cat?
No, it's the cat. Let me try
something. We have a cat emergency here. Otherwise known as caterwauling.
Yes, that was called caterwauling. Okay, I just put her into another room.
Okay.
So she is not happy with me right now.
I can imagine.
Yeah, she's like, what did you just do? So the teaser is where you're really getting people back. So it's that you kind of have this extended, layered call to action. So the teaser, let's say that you have this free report. Now the next teaser, you maybe don't want to go from free report to buy my $3,000 coaching. But you may say, I have this great audio. It's the 7 keys to blah, blah, blah. And you can get it at whatever. And you can have that be an audio download that they can get immediately, an MP3, whatever you happen to want to do. But that is going to be just terrific and a great way to build that back. So I'm also recommend try not to go from $0 to $3,000, because it's very unlikely that someone will go from reading a 3-minute report to a $3,000 sale. But you might have something in between. You might have, sign up for my free webinar. I do them every month or every week or every whatever it is. So you might do that. You might have a product. Maybe it's 10 or 20 or $100. You may have a consultation. So for each person, that's going to vary, right, Michael? But you want them to take that next step. So now they've only been a looky-loo. They've only signed up for free. Now you're trying to get them to spend at least $1.
Yeah.
Even $1 changes of the relationship, right? Even $1. I'm not saying you have to do $1. I'm just saying even that, right? The change between a list of freebie seekers to a list is exponentially 10 to 1 more valuable. So if you can get them from free, you've really solved their problem. Now you're going to help them buy the supplies they need or the tools, or get an audio, or get a workbook, or get a basic program or something of that nature. Then that's going to be really terrific for you, and that will help to build that relationship with them and get them to take another step. Is that making sense?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. I know there, what you're calling the teaser phase. There's various tactics, as you would, for handling that. I know Frank Kern uses a free consultation that he basically gives away the farm. Basically, comes up with a plan for people, but then he charges like huge amounts of money per month for private coaching or counseling, consulting. So I guess it just depends on your level
Right.
of comfort, and obviously getting people into what Ryan Dice calls a tripwire offer, where basically, $3, $4, $7, whatever that is, just to get them into the funnel, so that you have a buyer rather than just a tire kicker, is a valuable way of approaching it. And I think that's actually probably the best way to go in most cases, because you get them into your funnel, and then you get to
Yeah,
communicate with
because
them. Yeah. Go ahead.
part of why Frank Kern can play with that is that in the internet marketing space, not the rest of us maybe, but in that space, it's like Tony Robbins. I mean,
Hmm.
Tony Robbins could get away. Most people know who that is. I don't know that everybody knows who Frank Kern is, but most
Right.
people have heard of like Tony Robbins or Zig Ziglar. Well, someone like Zig could have gotten away, or Tony Robbins could get away with, here's a free consultation. Now I'm going to direct you right into my, 2,000 a month package because
Mhm.
he's Tony or Zig or Frank Kern. But when it's just somebody who isn't that well known,
Right.
unless you have boatloads paid you and had such amazing success that they're totally blown away, it's not as likely that they're going to go from zero to that. The other thing is, if you give a free consultation, for me, if I see that in a free report and then it says free consultation, I automatically feel like I'm going to be sold to.
Well, it's
I
interesting the
don't
way the
trust.
way
I'll
I'll
pay
just
you.
say. I'm sorry. I think we're having a little audio problem here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we must have.
We're I think
Yes, I hear you.
yeah, your storms may be heading that way, so maybe we can sort of wrap this up. But yeah, it there's a lot of pros and cons to that. The free consultation would come. Frank, for example, only gives a consultation when somebody puts up a deposit. In other words, he doesn't take tire kickers. So he makes sure that, and he does give value. But the point is that, if I think your way is probably the best for most people, especially if you're on this hangout, to approach it that way. I know I use the tripwire or the free offer funnel type thing to get people in. A very effective way of introducing yourself and gradually sharing your expertise with people. So yeah, I think that's probably the best way to go for most people.
Because if you're at that higher level, you're not on this webinar. That goes
You
back
there?
to what people know.
Did we lose
If you
Rhonda?
were Tony, I hear you.
Right.
So if you were at that level, you wouldn't be here. So to go
I
right
got you. I
from
think we have a little audio delay here
to,
again. So go ahead. I'll let you talk.
okay. So I'm pretty much done with that part of the only final thing to do is just to give a very quick opportunity for you. If one of the best ways you can author, you can write without writing audio recorder and having it transcribed. There's lots of cool ways and easy, so you don't have to love writing or love. If you would like some help with that, I can show you 6 very easy ways to write a book, and that's in the Instant Author Formula program. And that's what Michael has a special link for you, and it's at mycoachtraining.com /author. mycoachtraining.com /author. So if you have been saying to yourself, I ought to write a book, or you have one started and maybe for the past 2 or 5 or 10 years it's been sitting there partially undone, I can help you make it so easy. You've already seen that I showed you 7 very simple steps, all starting with the letter T of how to do your special report. Now, once you know that, now you know how to write your chapter, because guess what? It's the exact same template I teach. Those are the 7 essential elements of a great chapter.
Mm.
Kind of cool, huh?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, it is.
transfer it across. So come on over and check that out, and I would really love to be able to help you have a great credibility piece that will do a lot for you. Now I'm going to turn it back to Michael and be quiet because of this. We have an audio delay apparently, so go ahead and take it away, Michael.
Thank you, Rhonda. That was a great presentation. I learned some things. I took some notes. So let me, if I could quickly summarize, you've got the 7-point checklist for doing your free report. One is a tantalizing title. You have to have a title. More specific you can get, solving a person's problem, the better, like 3 steps or 7 steps or how to do this in 5 minutes or whatever. The second I got was a takeaway that encompasses the why. Also, I would add, and you probably mentioned this, but if you didn't, I'll bring it up. That is sort of like when you go to the dentist and he uses that little ice pick thing and he probes inside your cavities and you sort of yell because it hurts. It's sort of the dental prod type thing. The part of the why is because you bring attention to their pain and you let them know, well, you know, this hurts. I think I need some help with this. And so part of the takeaway is it gives them real motivation to listen to what you have to say, which leads to third, which is the tale or the story. You build a story, either your own case or someone you know or one of your clients or whatever. The fourth is the teaching, where you actually go into the 3 steps to stop head fires or whatever it is that you're writing about. And the fifth would be the tools, which would be affiliate links, links to your own products, things like that, links to things that they can use to help them with that problem. And then the sixth would be to take action on those steps. You give them step by step. These are the steps you need to go, or go sign up for this and then do that. And then the 7th step would be the teaser, where you're actually presenting your offer, which is here's an offer you can't refuse in most cases, or similar to that, where it's either a low-cost offer to where they can get started with you. In other words, they get to know you better little by little, sort of like the second date type thing. So did I mention those in correct order, and is there anything else you want to add, Rhonda?
You got it just right. You really want to think about this like a dating relationship. Most of the time, you're not going to go from getting somebody's phone number to a blind date to getting married and having kids. And yet some people try to do that. Let me go from a free report to selling coaching off of a free report or selling coaching off of a website page when nobody knows who you're not acquainted. Now the seduction will happen at different rates. Some people can, you can see that report, maybe call you or get on your free webinar, and they're ready because they're so primed and they feel that you're right. But most of the time, that's not going to be. So just realize you can't go if I do in one step.
Right. I wanted to add also, Rhonda, that I just really want to thank you for coming on this webinar. You shared some tremendous information with us, and I wish we had the slides because I think it would be helpful to see something. Well, I'll have to work on that for next time. But the information, if you took notes, the 7 points, the 7-point checklist is powerful. And I can tell you from personal experience with Rhonda that if you just follow the steps that she gives you, you will be successful in this. You will be able to write a free report and put it up online. Now, actually, you're going to need to know how to set up what is called a squeeze page, where you actually put a page up which talks about your report, or maybe you can do a short video and put it up there and tell about your report. If you want to see an example of a squeeze page, if you're a coach, I'm marketing to those people who are thinking about becoming coaches, and you can go to how to get the most clients.com. I believe that's the website. Let me double check that. I think if you want to see an example of a website, of a squeeze page, you can how to get the most clients.com, and that'll give you an example. I use both video and opt-in page, and you can set up a squeeze page for that. Now, when they opt in, then they're taken to a thank you page where you thank them, and obviously you need to. The best thing would be to send them to an email where they can click on that to verify their email address, and then you send them to a page where they download the report, or you could just send them to the report. Some people like just doing that. The problem with that is that you're not going to get the best emails in that situation. Sometimes you'll get bad emails, but it depends on what your preference is. You can do it either way, and then from there you get an autoresponder, which is just a way of contacting your people by email and letting them stay in touch with you, or you stay in touch with them, feeding them information, and perhaps from time to time sending them to your website or your blog to give them more exposure to what you have to offer and more of your authority, where you're building your authority through knowledge, giving them more information, and also allowing them to take advantage of several offers that you have. So very powerful stuff, Rhonda, and I really want to, again, thank you for being on the webinar and encourage people to sign up for Rhonda's course, because she's got a lot to share, and I really trust her. I think she's a very powerful teacher, very effective teacher, and you can learn a lot from her. As I said, you could go to mycoachtraining.com/author and see what she's got going on, and I encourage you to take advantage of that, because she's making a special. I think you're adding something special to this author, aren't you, Rhonda?
Well, I mean, just to course, you're going to have short video tutorials. You'll have, of course, a written piece. You can see it, you can watch it. There are audios you can listen. So whichever way you learn best, you've got them all covered. I'm going to show you 6 very simple ways to put a book together. And the interesting thing is you can use the same principle to put together a product. So if you say, yeah, well, I'm a coach and I wish I had like a mini course, well, you can use that same information to be able to do that. The other thing, Michael, I will put a PDF up to get when they opt in, they can have the slides. So I will get that to you by tomorrow morning. I'll probably have to shut down the computer after this because the storm is coming in pretty fierce right now.
Right.
You can give it to them. Then you guys can slides and you can see it. Just because that, when somebody's a teacher, I know I can help students for years. The only reason I quit that job is because I moved. So, and I love that, and I would love to help you. And I hope Michael didn't just scare you off with this whole 2-sentence description of how to go from an opt-in to a report. Now, they probably scared the pants out of this, but with that. But I would love to help you with your book and beyond. I was like going, whoa, I'm just trying to get you. So, yeah. Hopefully you weren't too frightened, or if you are and you're working with Michael, you'll know that he will help you with those little big words like autoresponders and pages and how to direct people. That's all stuff you get help with. And that's no matter what it is, you don't have to know exact work. You will get help with that. As a coach, that's why you are a coach, to help people. And that's why if you're going to write a book and you're clueless, you get someone to help you with that. So it's been my pleasure to be with you, and I am just really honored and excited, and I look forward to hearing from everyone who's watching this.
Rhonda, thank you so much. I'm going to look forward to getting your PDF, and I will send this to all the people who signed up for the webinar. And if you signed up and stayed for most of it, thank you very much. I'm glad you stayed. You will be getting this report that Rhonda will send to me, and I'll send it out to each and every one of you. So thanks again for joining us. And sorry for the technical difficulties. We're working on them, and hopefully we'll be better as we go along. So stay tuned to logicalsoul.tv to get all the greatest stuff that you can possibly imagine, including the people out in the Midwest with what is those little tornadoes and wicked witches and things like that. So I'll let you go. I know you have to go hide in the tornado cellar. So take care, Rhonda. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you again soon.